Uh, Good morning. Welcome all to this initiative of Women Geospatial Coterie Special Talks, which we have revived again after a period of about a year going silent. And we realized that we need to build those dialogues again where technology, user, and its usage marry with each other as we see that the world we live in is facing more and more challenges owing to climate change, uncertainty of weather, and day-to-day struggle of cities and habitations. So the theme of special talks this time is 3D digital geo-twin policy and prospects. We see technologies transforming the world at a pace that we never saw earlier. And digital GeoTwin, by providing the real-time virtual replicas of the physical environment, is gaining global traction for urban planning, climate action, and sustainable resource management. International bodies like UN and EU and many governments, they are developing standards to promote data sharing and interoperabilities. And we have regions such as Europe, North America, and Asia Pacific leading the adoption and use of these geotwins for smart cities, disaster management, and biodiversity monitoring. However, with siloed data governance, digital divide, and high implementation cost, the future of geotwins lies in creating a globally connected network to address climate resilience, sustainable development, and infrastructure planning on a large scale. So, today on our Special Talks webinar, we have two esteemed speakers, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya and Prajakta Patil. Uh, Mr. Vaidya has been an urban practitioner, planner, and uh, for last 30 years, and Prajakta comes from the technology space. So today we discuss on how these digital twins are going to help us in solving the pressing problems we are facing today. So we start with our first speaker, uh, Ms. Prajakta Patil. Prajakta, she has she is a lead consultant and delivery manager for the Geospatial Advisory and Innovation team at Woolworths Asia Pacific, and she's based out of Melbourne with more than 15 years of experience in geospatial consulting and delivery management. Prajakta has worked on projects across the Asia Pacific and Middle East regions. She is skilled in developing geospatial strategies, roadmaps, and budget for local, state, federal governments, and has successfully led high performing, multifunctional, technologically diverse, and multicultural teams on large solving the complex spatial problems. She has collaborated with ministries and C-suite executives with industry exposure spanning telecom, infrastructure, utilities, transport, aerospace, environment, and government sectors, and is adept at creating comprehensive geospatial frameworks and strategic plans, ensuring alignment with organization goals and industry standards. So over to you, Prajakta. As to the topic of the webinar is the policy and the prospect of geospatial digital twins.
Mm. Thank you, Yogita. Thank you for having the session. And I would like to thank everyone who has joined this webinar today. I think Yogita has chosen a very interesting, fascinating topic. Um, but I'd like to share my screen. Um, is the screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So as I mentioned, that this is a very interesting topic of the digital twin. Some call it spatial digital twin or GeoTwin, and it has gained a significant momentum in recent years. So, what is a digital twin, and what is a spatial digital twin is what I would like to discuss here. Now, Digital twin, we know that it's a digital replica of any physical object. But what spatial digital twin is, um, it takes the concept further to a broader scale uh, of purview. It not only incorporates the 3D replica, but it also includes systems, processes, and interconnections between entities that allow for better discussions. The concept of 3D spatial digital twin has it also integrates with various technologies and like remote sensing, GIS, IoT, cloud computing, AIs. So, for instance, I'd just like to give an example of the Victorian digital twin, which helps in managing building permits and it helps in urban planning. So they had done a practical use of assessing a new high-rise building permit. So with an integration of the 3D visualization with real-time traffic patterns, environmental impact, and zoning regulation was done, which helped the stakeholders evaluate the project implications on the surrounding of the community. And that helped in faster approval processes and it ensured the development aligns with the urban planning. So that is what we see spatial digital twin as. So coming to the values of spatial digital twin, when we talk about value, I think instantly what comes into our mind is the visualization. We think, oh yes, digital twin, that's a 3D model or the main use is the visualization. But I think it's more towards it. But when we understand that the spatial relationship between the entities of it, which helps in reducing the uncertainty and helps in enhanced analysis. Mhm. Another good example, what I can see here is it can be used as urban flood management. We can use 3D visualization with real-time data to stimulate the flood scenarios. In this setup, I think it allows the city planners and the um, emergency responders to see how the water is flowing through the streets and the neighborhoods. And that is where they can identify at-risk areas and have a better planning for evacuations. Coming to the slide, spatial digital twin plays a key role in enabling a dynamic geospatial ecosystem by bringing together data, technologies, and real world contexts. In this diagram, um, here we represent a good theoretical framework which is designed by Wilpert and it is driven by demand um, for understanding the potential of spatial digital twin. Um, anyone with an 3D with a very good experience in 3D can create a digital twin, but that's only one component of it. First, we need to ask why we need a spatial digital twin. And that's where I see use case or the user centric applications help us derive why we need digital twin, why component is being able to address here. And then what comes? What is a digital twin? Is where the geospatial data ecosystem helps to bring um, the development of the user-centric application to collect all the data of it. And then comes how. How do we build this spatial digital twin? Its interface and its capability with the help of AI, um, multiple visualizations, and uh, Im- immersive experience, I think. So you can see in this diagram, um, we help customers understand that digital twin is not just a 3D replica of buildings, but it is a function. It's a functional digital twin. And this is our view of how a spatial digital ecosystem is built. So we have digital twin in urban, in rural, in environment, and other major sectors. And all of this digital twin comes into a geospatial ecosystem. So moving to next slide. International guiding principles and frameworks play a significant role in building these spatial digital twins by providing a foundation for developing structured approach to build scalable SDGs. So how do they contribute is by applying these best practices and frameworks into the existing initiatives and the plan for digital twin. So one such framework is the Gemini principle. So these principles provide a comprehensive framework for creating digital twin, focusing on the transparency, accuracy, and inclusivity. They guide practitioners in designing spatial digital twin that are user-centric and address the various needs of stakeholders. Next, this report here, that is the WGIC policy report. This was developed by Policy Committee of World Geospatial Council, and Woolpert's leaders were involved in developing this report. This gives a private sector view of how, and in this report, we can see comprehensive view of global spatial digital twin that has been done worldwide and how this policy impacts are made by utilizing this spatial digital twin. Um, it, it helps stakeholders align their efforts towards common objective and enhancing more collaborations in developing a spatial digital twin. The next one is the maturity model here. This is a model which is prepared by government's own research by Australia and New Zealand Land Information Council, ANZLIC. It was done to help people to measure their maturity level and then invest in SDTs. So with different levels of maturity, from locating to visualizing and to fully automate the digital twin. Then comes the international standards. So the OGC, City GML, in industry foundation classes, and the ISO. These are few major standards that are available and are practiced in industries. OGC, Open Geospatial Consortium. One of our leader is the board member of OGC, and it is a worldwide consortium that brings in a lot of discussion and lead to community on different standards. One such example is the City GML that enables representation of city models. And we are working along with our client as it brings information on more interoperable ways. The IFCs are standards for building management, building information modeling that allows for sharing of information about buildings and infrastructures. Woolput has also helped in influencing these standards. We have also played a part in applying and delivering such standards. Um, The next I would also like to talk is about ISO. ISO is working towards digital twin, and it defines the structure of the building management data. All such um, best practices frameworks, the international standards, I think they set a foundation for future digital twin advancement, emphasizing on privacy, its security, the interoperability, and also the collaborations. So here we would look at Wolper's perspective to building spatial digital twin with with focus on three main phases. So one is the very first and most important thing what we feel is the consulting and advisory. Um, so this phase is a critical plays a very critical role. In this phase, we address all the main related questions like as to why we need to build it, why we need to have a spatial digital twin, why should we invest. Next comes how do we invest, who is going to finance, how the design is going to be. So all these sort of questions can be addressed in this phase. But we should always know once a digital twin is built, there's a second challenge on for it of its management and its maintenance. So digital twin is continuously needs continuous investment. So this is not just one time. So this is where I feel like consulting and advisory plays a major role to develop that roadmap that is required for the spatial digital twin. Through through these steps, I think very clear use cases can be emerged that directly gives a, a good effective spatial digital twin implementation. Um, Next, I think uh, is the data capture and processing, where people are much more aware of it, and uh, so we'll have digital twin is only very good as the data, because it heavily relies on its data. Accurate digital twin require high quality data and very up to date data. So data could be acquired from the traditional surveys, the aerial mapping, mobile, terrestrial, photogrammetry, or remote sensing ways. But the integration of BIM data ensures that the digital twin have the foundation data to replicate the real world conditions accurately and support its timely decisions. And the next phase is the solution development, developing the solution. I, we have been a part of one of the digital twin that was built, and we played a major role in developing solution for it. So this phase here, I think it closely ties to the consulting, which for in this phase, then we can focus on creating cloud solutions, enterprise GIS, space management, and technologies. It aims to provide a very scalable and accessible platform where spatial data can be analyzed, visualized, and leveraged for making better decisions. I think together with all these three components, we form a holistic approach to building spatial digital twin that are precise. Sorry?
Excuse me, can you mute yourself? Prajakta, you can.
Yeah, thank you. Together with these components, it forms a holistic approach to build spatial digital twin that are precise and functional and can be future proof. So here's one use case of the virtual Singapore platform. And Woolput has been a key stakeholder in this program. It is a government-owned initiative designed to serve a comprehensive resources for public, private, government, and research sector. Woolput brings their expertise in the geospatial data capture and 3D modeling. And we have been working on this program from almost 12 years with Singapore, undertaking aerial surveys, LIDAR and imagery, then generating the DTMs, 3D building models based on city GML standards, and then generating building models in the required format, production of 3D transportation and the city furniture models, and then the delivery of the Singapore's 3D national map, or it is also called as the virtual Singapore platform. There are two very good use cases that these digital twin models is this sea level rise and the flood risk across the island by stimulating extreme weather events. It enables urban planners to test flood mitigation strategies and assess the long-term impact of climate change on urban and also on the coastal areas. Next use case, I think, is the urban mobility, where the city leverages this digital model to stimulate transport projects and analyze potential traffics and congestions by modeling different scenarios like a new bus or a new bike lane. It helps optimize the road networks, plan for infrastructure improvements, and reduce travel times for commuters. Another use case is the spatial digital twins for New South Wales. Again, government funded initiative where data sets were sourced from the local, state, and federal government custodians. And Woodward has assisted in the solution development of it. So the New South Wales Spatial Digital Twin although it emphasizes on the open access to all users and enables for the 3D visualization. While I say open access is the goal here, the real level of access often varies depending on the data sensitivity, the stakeholder needs, and the security concerns. So it's not open to all, but I think there are cases where the security and the data sensitivity stops access for different level of users. Secondly, maintaining up-to-date digital twin is crucial as the outdated information can lead to very poor decision makings. So here is where I again say that consulting services are essential as they provide the guidelines on how frequently this data can be updated based on use case and the objective of the spatial digital twin. So here two use cases that the New South Wales digital twin helps monitor is for the school buildings conditions by analyzing data from sensors, tracking energy consumptions, and predicting maintenance needs. This allows the Department of Education to plan for a new school development, ensuring they meet the building regulations and the safety codes. Another use case is on the Bathurst digital twin offers a smart city integration by connecting 3D data of almost 4 million square meter of to IoT infrastructure. This digital twin enables real-time visualization of public asset like EV charging stations. Secondly, also enables and promote tourism by allowing visitors to explore historical and environmental features virtually. Um, so another example is from the state of Victoria, that's Melbourne, where I come along. This launch of Digital in Victoria um, was not just a technological leap, but it was a strategic move that was very well shaped and crafted by having policies and standards. So recognizing the critical need of the data interoperability and security and governance, the Victorian government developed policies that mandated using uh, BIM uh, building information models for all infrastructure projects. The adoption of global standards for data harmonization played a very key role in this program. And these standards ensured consistency across public and private sectors, enabling for more smoother collaboration between the stakeholders. As a result, Digital Twin Victoria emerged as a trailblazer in data driven governance, better planning, and disaster resilience, and providing a sustainable development through an open, interoperable, and secure data ecosystem. So, as they embedded strong policies and frameworks and standards, I think Digital Twin Victoria is one of a big success story, and the Victorian government ensured that this platform could not only deliver immediate insights, but also evolve to meet future challenges, reinforcing its position as a model for other regions worldwide. Building compliance is one very good use case for digital twin. So it, as I mentioned in my definition before up there, it is not only for having a 3D of the building, but it also helps in giving the regulation frameworks and pre-checking how the building interacts with the environment by visualizing, uh, inspecting the proposed design in 3D models. So one key question here is, why do we need policies for implementing successful and sustainable spatial data twins? So we've seen in recent years, I think lots governments have been investing millions and millions in spatial digital twin, and spatial digital twin, I say, is a great thing with an highlighting fact that the data needs to be very well managed and needs to be interoperable and harmonized. And policy can resolve this. So some key questions that needs to be addressed for building a successful spatial digital twin is like, who is going to be the owner of it? Who is going to build it? What is the role of each stakeholder, and how to maintain the privacy, the standard, the specifications, the security, that's the access of the digital twin. What are the liabilities? What are the skills that are required for building and maintaining and using the spatial digital twin, etc. So all of that is something that I think policy can answer. Capturing of digital data twin require a lot of barriers, given with capturing mechanisms. Everything that is collected is the data of the citizen. So that's where the policy needs to be very clear what applies to all stages of the digital twin. So no data is compromised. And even though best technologies uh, is are existing, it's more the access, the management, and the governance of the digital twin is always a challenge. And this is something is evolving. So the resulting policy, national policy and standards should reflect international best practices as recommended by UNGGIM, the United Nations Committee of Experts, and the Inspire, or say ISO, OGC, and ANSLIC, to ensure that these policies are robust and applicable across different regions and industries. So that's is what I'm going to end with this topic, but I would like to end it with a little on what Woolput is about. Woolput is the fastest growing global AEG with robust data and advanced digital solution underpin the biggest projects in Australia, Asia Pacific, and beyond. We have 60 plus offices and 1,200 geospatial professional on staff and have completed over almost 1,000 plus mapping projects. Um, so this is one fully integrated geospatial delivery model. We measure land, sea, and space through multiple platforms, and we're doing this from almost 115 years and produce products and information relevant to client in multi-dimensions. Uh, so we have services, various services, and I work into geospatial advisory and innovations with major senior geospatial leaders and consultants with decades of experience. This is a gateway for designing the spatial digital twin, where you can see having we are having consulting, technology, the data, the solution, and the value services. So that's all from me, Yogita. Thank you, everyone, for all your attention.
Thank you, Prajakta, for giving us a insightful understanding of what digital twin is, not just from the technology perspective, but also from the users and the solutions perspective as well. And also how important it is policy to weave through all these solutions and build through all these solutions and navigate through all the challenges with terms of implementation of data, governance of data, updation and maintenance of data, sharing of data, and also of the solutions and the use cases. So thank you very much. We move on to our next speaker, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya. So, Mr. Vaidya is an esteemed urban practitioner, currently serving as a member of the Kerala Urban Planning Commission and as a board member of the Global Buildings Performance Network. He advises various foundations and think tanks on addressing climate and urban challenges. Prior to this, he was the director of National Institute of Urban Affairs, an urban think tank of the Government of India. With more than 30 years of extensive experience, Hitesh has demonstrated leadership in urban strategy, governance, and development, as well as in the policy and project formulation, implementation, and program management. He has successfully led and collaborated with teams from the United Nations, the World Bank, and USAID. And we have him here as our esteemed speaker. Thanks for joining us and giving us an understanding of how to marry the technology with the user and the sector. The policy requirements are from the both the sides, from the user side also and from the technology side also. So how do we marry both the things at the technology level, at the governance level, at the sharing level, and at the solutions level? So over to you, Hitesh.
Thank you, Yogita, and thank you. I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you
Am
are
I
audible.
audible?
Yes, yes, you
Okay.
are audible.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Thank you for having me here. I think Prajakta had made an excellent presentation, and I really don't know. I'm a technological challenge person. I don't know why you called me on this platform because I don't understand the language of technology. I understand the language of people and language of practice at the ground level. So I hope I'll be able to make some remarks. But I think Prakta has technology will help in leapfrogging the journey of any city, and I think that's important. And she did uh, why it is important. She did talk about what is important. She also mentioned about how it is going to make a change. But for me, I think the more going to make change, and that who is much more important. We all know why we need to make that change. India right now is moving from uh, to 50% city will be urban. We are creating one Chicago every year. That's the way we are growing, and we are want to have an aspiration of a 10 trillion economy. And so, we need to really leapfrog. We need to look at the innovative ways of moving forward. And I remember the dialogue from a movie called Rangila. Koi bhi desh perfect nahi hota. Usko perfect bana. And so that's why we have to evolve. We have to learn. We have to unlearn a lot of things, but we have to learn a lot of new things and new technologies. And I think while these 3D technology or digital spatial technology, I'll go a little back, and I'll not say that it's a panic up for all the urban problems. And I'm being as candid as possible. Question is, while we all beat our chest that this is the technology and we will make the change, is the language of technology and the language which is understood by my city practitioners is two different language. Unless the technology people change their language. I was a director of National Institute of Urban Affairs. Every day people used to come and talk to me. BIM bana denge, cloud bana denge, ye kar denge. See, we don't understand that language. For me, अगर cloud है तो बारिश होनी चाहिए. Otherwise, there is no use of cloud. Unless it rains, it changes. It makes a transformational effect. The question is, how do you change this dimension of technology into demonstrative pilot in a that is how we call it. The challenge is where are and Raj did talk about processes. She did talk about interconnections, and these are three things she highlighted. And look at it this. I look at it. What is city looking at? City is looking at how I am growing as an urban. Don't know. If you look at India's urban, how much urban we are, we don't know as yet. India's, if I look at India's urbanization pattern, World Bank calls us a messy urbanization. Our own economists call us a reluctant urbanization. We go from 30% to 70%. We don't know. And I think these type of tools definitely will help to find out towns bring these tools. But we what are we looking at? We're looking at how my city is growing. What are the finances of my cities? What are the infrastructure and built environment I need to build in? What are the skills I need to develop? What are the climate issues which I have to deal with while I'm building this whole infrastructure? And what are the social? So nobody is left behind. So if these are my five big things, then we need to really find out what are those key ingredients for this digital twin is offering. And I think unless we clarify those key ingredients, for me, what she said about integration of data, which is more important, how do you integrate? And that's the go back to the question, which I always believe, what we are, while we are moving towards the urbanization, we are still using the rural templates to solve. And I do see if urban templates have to come up with the urban problem issues, then we need to come up with the new tools, new templates, new way of doing things together. Tools will have to be embedded in the local context. So I think the language has to be very, very clear. If I want this recipe for my cities to really adopt, I think the language of this digital twin, for me, twin is my younger digital is saying replica, it's a mirror, it's a real-time data, it's what it is. How do I go to a city and say I will solve it? So it has to be moved towards big jargon, and this recipe has to come up. If they have to do, these are the minimum prerequisite city has to really work on it. And unless we get that prerequisite, those ingredients, you cannot have a good dish. And if I have to have a good dish, then I have to have what type of data. It's not a one type of data. We might need a geospatial data, we need a sensor data, we need a social data, we need a administrative data. All of that is a challenge. We need a technologies. We need a softwares. We need people to work in the thing. Right now, in my city, if you look at and if that is the condition of manpower in my city, thanks to Geo-Twin. For this, I have more collaboration. If I don't, I can call. But then I have to be very, very clear, contractual as well as transparent governance frameworks where I can monitor, I can look at it. I don't want to get into the contract with some vendor and then or a partner, and then I found that I have been taken for an experience where technology drives city and take them for a ransom, and that's where we need to avoid that. So we need to look at it. And last, which I think is much more important, is finance. The way our cities are, the way their finances are. I think that need to be built up so that we are able to invest to this leapfrogging into new technologies, new era, new ways of doing things. And that requires much more just looking at a policy. I always believe we have enough policy. We have written enough what needs to be written. It's the question is how do we implement it? And our challenges are more on a implementation side because of manpower, because of frameworks, because of. So if I have a policy at a center level, which might definitely bring a lot of things. At a state level, I need to create frameworks and guidelines for them. Then at a city level, I need to come up with those frameworks into a strategy and a roadmaps. And with the roadmap, then the actual assigning each one with a clear role and responsibility. Otherwise, city as a patient, everyone is looking at that patient, and nobody knows what its problem is. So I think that it is a larger question of pushing and scaling up this type of new technologies. Go back to the drawing board and look at our governance framework itself, and then see whether we are ready for really applying and imbibing these new technologies in our governance framework so they can become more effective. effective and give us a more impactful results, because creating enabling framework should end up creating enabling impacts at the ground, and that's where the people will really looking at, is how do you create impact and change the life with the technologies around that. So over there I'll stop here. Sorry, I'm been little pessimistic and thing, but I think anything which we want to really look at it, we have to look at it whether there is a mandate for doing that by the urban local body, because a lot of times this mandate is not clear whether planning is going to be done by the so whose mandate is it, has to be clear, whether they have good skills for really taking up this regulatory and legislative framework for looking at this. And lastly, what type of capacity tools are available or capsules are available for us to leapfrog and make that planning actually effective on the ground. So having said, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity, and I look forward to a more interaction on this subject. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Hitesh, for bringing out the pertinent points, from the user perspective. And this is like, it is the very right forum where I want to bridge the users and the technology, because as you said rightly, technology is speaking different language, users are speaking different language. We have to speak the same language as to when we have to solve these problems. And this is where the Special Talks initiative is focusing on bridging those dialogues where the language of the user and the language of technology marry with each other. And the very important thing which you said right now is, from the urban perspective, whether the urban whatever is this is this is the urban we are trying to build, or we need to think radically different into what urban we are also envisaging, because the problems of the climate or anything, it is because of the built up also, coming from a background of environment and climate. The urban built up environment adds to the heating up of the planet, adds to the change in the albedo. So we also have to think over from the urban perspective also, that do we really need to build the cities we have been building, or we need to build the urban habitations something differently. So this is also very pertinent question for all of us going forward, as to we continue doing the same thing we have been doing from the user perspective, and also from the technology perspective, if we can provide. So just I did a small experiment, and which I would want to share with this uh, forum also. uh, so if all of you can see here, so this is what technology helped me in envisaging a future. Are you able to see?
Yes.
Yes. So these are the two scenarios the technology helped me build, giving two prompts. One is the current urban design, the current urban way of looking at the things. And the second is the regenerative design. So, so this is where I think that technology helps us in creating those scenarios, building the future we want to build. So we want to build the future on the right hand side, or we want to build the future on left hand side. So now the we open this forum for the questions. I have my own set of questions which I'll ask later, but I would also want the audience to, have put some questions. So you can raise your hand and then we can. Yeah, Mehraj, please unmute yourself and hello. 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 Mehraj, what happened? Any other question? So, I have a question for you, Hitesh. So, you talk about whether cities are wanting it or not, the technology. Uh, but then there is a lot of impetus on a lot of programs. So, is it a push program or it is a pull program by cities? Like we are seeing a lot of cities getting into digital, a lot of cities getting the quote unquote smart. So it is a push thing or it is a pull thing, like it's pushed by the government top down, or it is really a bottoms up requirement.
Okay, what type of urbanization we want? We want a good urbanization or we want a bad urbanization? If we want a good urbanization, we have to invest in new technologies, new templates, and new things. And as a smart city program, which I have been with, a huge interest among the cities, and I must give a credit to all the cities because we saw how they use technology to really handle the COVID crisis. And I think hats off to Indian cities with the limited technology bandwidth, they were able to manage things, and I think that shows the need and the demand for it. What I'm trying to say is while demand, the supply from the partners to those type of things. What happens is cities go with the idea that this technology is going to be a game changer, it will change, and not specifying the key ingredients right upfront. And in the design itself, what happens? You don't get the desired results, and then they will get a skepticism that this works, this does not work. I failed. So that is where we have to. Cities are ready to leapfrog. Cities are ready to take that journey forward, but they have to be very clearly given it has to be very transparent, it has to be very inclusive, and we have to really build. And cities need it. It's not just a technology or software. I plug in your computer and things will change. I think that journey has to be very clearly defined. What needs in that journey has to be clearly defined. What milestones they can be achieved has to be clearly defined. So unless we have that clarity on the roles, responsibility, really good. We have now a great opportunity because at 100 cities at least have an integrated command and control center. Some of them have a doing excellent job like Surat, Pune, and all. How do you scale up? What needs to scale up, and how does you mainstream this type of technology in the overall legal process of the city's framework? Whether it's a master plan, whether it's the building bylaws, how do you really support those legal frameworks that it really evolves and cities start moving towards from the bad urbanization to good urbanization, because nobody wants a bad urbanization. Everybody wants to have a good urbanization, but it has to be, buy-in has to be from the citizens, and unless you give the demonstrative um, pilots, which need to be then scaled up, does not remain as pilot. That's where I'm saying. But I think there is a huge demand. There is a huge hunger. It's the question is how do you really serve that hunger of the cities with a lot of handholding, technological support, and financial support to them.
Yeah. Thank you. And also policy, because cities also need to have their policy with respect to data management, data governance, data sharing, and how you
Exactly,
update the data.
exactly.
So Mehraj, you are back again. You can have your question now. And next we'll take question from Swati. Or we can take question from Swati. Swati, you can unmute yourself and put your question.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. And thank you to all the speakers who have been giving such an insight on the digital twin. I have a small question over here. Is we say that digital twin is a journey, which is more towards safer, quicker, and uh, more, more approach towards sustainable projects. So my question is like, how do we take this data centric approach from engineering to operations? Any of the speaker can answer this.
Prajakta, you will take it?
Maybe
Okay.
yeah, I think
Okay,
Prajakta
Hitesh.
will take it and then I can comment.
Yeah. Prajakta? Hello.
Hi, Yogita. Yeah,
Hi.
thank you,
So
Swati. Okay. Thank you, Swati, for this question. I think it's a very good question. Taking a data-centric approach to operations with digital twin means to have um, da- let's think data as a very core driver for making decisions, optimization, and making the sustainable effort. But I think digital twin is a very can be seen as a very powerful tool for sustainability. It depends on the mindset, I think, of the people or the person who's operating the digital twin. See, we can use digital twin for addressing environmental challenges and other aspects. See, for instance, I'll just give an example. Digital twin can be used, the data of it can be only used for, say, visualization. But in case, or in India now, we see in recent years the glacier melting, and it is causing heavy floods in
Right.
Himachal Pradesh. And digital twin could uh, can be effectively used. We can use digital twin to know to monitor these flood scenarios. There's no limitation of it. Using the data accurately into and stimulating the digital twin is where I think is very important. And ultimately, how can we use this to reduce the uncertainty and enhance more of the better decisions is where uh, I think the sustainability is.
Okay. Thank you.
Hitesh, you would like to add to it?
Yeah, no, I agree with Swati. I just wanted to say I do agree, Swati. While we are trying saying that digital twin can be that engine to
Mhm.
drive the city economic growth or city itself. I think data is definitely the basis of it. And while we want to convert intentions to action, there is no we want to do. But I think with that we also need to caveat that अगर ये इंजन है तो इंजन के चेसिस और फ्रेमवर्क्स हमें बनाने पड़ेंगे वो स्ट्रक्चरल चेंजेस वी हैव टू इफ वी वांट दिस टू बी अ इंजन देन द स्ट्रक्चरल चेंजेस हैव टू make we need to get very clear what are those sparks, what are those plugs, and what are those ignition points to really move forward. And so that innovations and other things becomes important. We also need to look at what are those lubricants and engine oil, which is like your HR policies, HR structure, your skills, your capacity tools have to go. We need to also look at control system because while data, privacy, data security, data issues,
Yeah.
ethical use of data becomes another issue that need to be very, very, the control system has to be very, very clear. And unless we get the
Right.
governance framework right, we will otherwise become a big chaos and really be a what are those cooling system really need to be very, very well thought of.
And also, I think even the data integration.
Yeah. So unless you create this foundation very strong with all the structures, frameworks, and others, data itself can be otherwise a loose engine which will go anywhere. So we have to be very careful with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will also need to take care of the data integration strategy because the data is coming in from different sources, right? So, yeah, right. Thank you so much, Hitesh, and thank you, Prajakta. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, Manoj, please have your question.
Yeah, good afternoon to all. Uh, Actually, ma'am, my question is simple. Right now, do you have any technology through which we can monitor on real-time basis? So, what is the rate of glacier melting right now? And is there any transparency to share all these data in a public domain so that we can do necessary mitigation measures before occurring such kind of disasters? Because recently in the year of 2021 we have a sudden flash flood in the Rishi Ganga and Dholi Ganga river in the state of Uttarakhand, and almost 80 to 90 people's uh, uh, died in that crisis.
So, I would take this question for you, Manoj. See, when we say real-time information, so real-time information need real-time inputs. And for that real-time inputs, we need a very robust sensor network. Now, that is something which is truly missing. But the thing is that we have a lot of spatial data which is there, a lot of past spatial data which is there. And I have been personally working toward building an infrastructure, a digital infrastructure, or we can say a stack, which can serve to the purpose of multiple people for multiple requirements. And this requires a lot of coming together of a lot of institutions, a lot of people, and a lot of organizations also, and which is means my own experience of in this domain for last 25 years. This is what is truly missing, that collaboration. So we are yet to have that collaborative mindset and collaborative functioning. We are still so much, protective of our own data, of our own information, in terms of, say, data security, abuse, and all those things. So we have to really focus on, and that is where I said policy, framework, and mechanism. We have to build such robust policies where we take care of the data security, and at the same time we are able to share the data with whoever whatever use cases. So, and that is why even for cities also, which I have found out, we are talking about it from only a planning perspective or only from a building and design perspective. Then we talk about from the operations and management and maintenance of the cities. But planning doesn't talk with the building and designing. Building and designing doesn't talk with the operations, maintenance, and management. And between a city life cycle also, there is no exchange of the data. There's no exchange of the information. So we have to understand, like, through the life cycle of a city, through a life cycle of any particular usage sector or requirement. And then we also have to map the stakeholders, because each stakeholder at each life cycle stage would have a very different requirements. So this is a huge work, and we have never ever thought it from a whole. We have always approached things from a very uh, uh, immediate terms requirements, and not from a very long term perspective and from a holistic perspective. So first we have to define what is whole, because right now we are not even at the same page as to what is whole. We are building the parts, and then we think that that is the whole. So we have to define that whole, and from a region perspective, from a bioregion perspective, from a city perspective. So from a city to state to national, and we have to also come back from national to state to city. And not just city, I'm talking about all the areas where we are operating, whether it is city or rural. So this is the thing, and we really have to work hard, because time is really a pressing need. Means I've done my own research on the high altitude Himalayas, and uh, we have to put all together. So we have to build the state people, the state data people who are responsible for collecting the data and also providing that data. We have to enable those mechanisms, because the institutions are there, the data is there, the technology is there. What's lacking is stitching together all into them and create solutions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, Prateek, please.
Hello, good morning, all of you.
Yeah.
The question is basically from Mehraj only. So Mehraj has some mic issues, and he has requested me to ask the question for him.
Okay.
So Mehraj has the query regarding integrating the engineering aspects into geospatial environments to create a digital twin. So he is currently working on integrating a set of structural models into a geospatial environment to evaluate their efficacy. So each structure has its unique load capacity. So he wants to assess this in a 3D model within the geospatial context. So is it possible, or is there any tool to incorporate these engineering aspects, specifically the load bearing capacities and structural details, into a 3D geospatial model? Please, if you can elaborate on how this can be achieved. So any of the speaker, if they can answer this. Thank you, ma'am.
So,
I'm a technologically challenged, so I back out from this. I leave it to both the ladies to answer this.
So I think Prajakta would be more suitable for that.
Well, I can throw some lights on it, but I'm too not very technical person at this for this question. But I think integrating engineering aspects into digital twin uh, involves, like as you mentioned, modeling structural performances, um, and then through stimulation and real-time monitoring. I think there are few tools. Uh, there are few tools like Similia that can help in conditions like complex structuring and other aspects of it. So that's what I feel, Prateek. And Raj maybe not sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this insight.
So you can share this query with me, Prateek, on mail, and we can connect you to the right person where they can answer you, because this is very technical question in terms for this forum currently. And we would definitely connect you with the right technical person, because it requires a lot of understanding, not just of the engineering design, but also the geospatial and also from the software side of it also. So how we marry all these things, because now, from a theoretical perspective, it is doable. There is because at the end of the day, in digital world, it is all 0 and 1. But how you mash and marry that 0 and 1 is what we have to find out.
Yes, ma'am.
So
So just wanted to let you know that in DRDO, Miraj and I both are working in DRDO, and so we
mm,
are dealing with a lot of disasters and other things, and we have a lot of expertise in remote sensing, GIS, IoT-based
mm,
sensor technologies. But now,
mm,
how to integrate it and to create a digital twin out of it? It's a challenge for us, and so we are not getting any open source tools. Also, most of the things are not available at present in GitHub or somewhere. So that is why that's a challenge we are facing in this to develop digital twin out of nowhere for the
so
data and other thing.
So I can add here to you, because the digital twin is built from a data. Okay. Eventually it is the data which is building this digital twin platform. And all this data capture is not happening in an open domain. It is all happening in a very proprietary domain. So for example, the sensors which you capture, which you use for capturing the digital twin data, they are all very proprietary sensors, and transferring that proprietary data into a proprietary like into a usable format, again it require a proprietary platform. So right now getting digital twin data, and again, as I said, the digital twin like getting data for a digital twin, you have three platforms for capturing that data. One is your satellite, other is your aerial, and then you have your drones. So all these platforms, whether it is satellite or whether it is aerial or whether it is drone, each has its own specifications and requirements. So because the data is not open as open in terms of the digital twins, you'll not get open tools for that, but there are proprietary tools for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
So any other questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you so much for wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we close this session of spatial talks. Again, after 1 year, we started the spatial talks, and I look forward to taking it forward, building such dialogues. And we saw this thing like in all my interaction, in all my previous sessions, also in the spatial talks. What we have realized is that there's a huge disconnect between the technology and its usage, and the main focus and main motto of spatial talks is to build that bridge, to fill that gap, and how we can do it going forward is I look forward to all the suggestions and the comments from all the participants here. We can form a working committee or something like that, where we, put together maybe a guidance for the cities, maybe a guidance for all the other players, all the other users, from a user standpoint, and help take it forward from there. So thank you so much for joining us in this special talks, today's special talks. And we look forward to all of your participation going forward in the next special talks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogita. Thank you, everyone.
Thank thank you everyone for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.